Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 18 of Bat Flips and Maple Dips. A special shout out, as always, to our friends in Montana, our friends in Wyoming, our friends in Idaho, our friends in Sri Lanka, our friends in Belize, our friends in Florida, Ireland, Maine. I think that's all of them. My name's Clayton Croker, coming to you from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. To my left, Justin, don't call me Mr. Anderson, and we have the Maritime Mistress Maker, President, Financial Treasurer, Secretary of the Alan Doyle Fan Club. We have Patrick Marsh. Today, it's the end of the season. We're going to be kind of recapping the year that was for the Jays, talking about that Russell Martin managed game. I think that was kind of cool. We're going to talk about who we're going to keep, who we're going to get rid of, and we're going to do a little bit of a playoff preview as well. Just a reminder, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, just look up Bat Flips Maple Dips. If you can't search anything on those social media websites by now, figure it out. SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play Music. Again, Bat Flips Maple Dips. If you don't know how a search bar works, for the second time in 20 seconds, figure it out. Let's get to the last series here, boys. We went to the Trop, and we actually won a game in the Trop. Hey, go us. Awesome. It was the first game of the series there, 7-6 win for the Jays. What did you guys see in that game? I mean, are there any positives when your team is already eliminated? Like, can you really take any positives from this series in general?
I liked watching the kids get a chance to really kind of let loose. They started the rookies for the most part, and it was fun. I mean, Pannone was kind of shaky that game, but I mean he didn't look too bad for a 24-year-old rookie who started late in the season. I know. We mentioned last week when Patrick and I were here that he had that PED suspension to start the year, the 80 games. So for him to come back to AAA and then make it to the big leagues in that shortened season is pretty cool for him.
Patrick, Pannone, is he back, or has he been back the entire time? I can't keep track with these he's back, he's not back references. What is he right now?
He never left. He's doing exactly what we expected him to do. It's just this time around he got hit around the ballpark a little bit more. Like Justin said, it's not too bad for a 24-year-old rookie who had to deal with an 80-game suspension. Imagine if he hadn't gotten suspended. Would he have gotten called up earlier, and how would he have performed?
Good call. When it comes to the bats, Gritch Daddy, 3-run triple. Teoscar Hernandez, 2 for 3, 2 walks. He had a dinger. Rowdy, of course, he had a dinger. He always does. But let's talk about Tim Mayza specifically here. Has he done enough to earn a bullpen spot for next year? The past couple of weeks, we've been talking about Tim Mayza as a guy who's kind of flown under the radar. He's had some rough outings, but at the same time, he's had some really, really good outings. So, Patrick, do you see Tim Mayza in the fold for the Jays in 2019?
Yes. He's going to be either Mr. 7th inning or Mr. 8th inning next season. You can take your pick as to which one. I don't see us needing to go out and invest money in one of those roles, just because it seems to me like Tim Mayza is here. He has risen, and he was great in his 35.2 innings pitched a season. Deserves a lot more credit than what he had gotten throughout the year. I'm happy to say that Tim Mayza is back.
Was that an Easter reference there? He has risen?
Yeah,
he will come again to judge the living and the dead? Is that what he's going to do? On the third day, did he rise, or was it the fourth day?
The 35th inning.
The 35th inning. Oh, man.
The 35th.2.
All that was missing there was the Stations of the Cross joke, and I'm pretty sure we had all the Easter jokes handled there. Let's get to game 2 here. Ryan Borucki, a.k.a. Show Rucky, 6 2/3. He did give up those 2 home runs. He did walk 3 guys. Justin, I know you hate this stat, but he was 4-6 this year. I know you hate the win-loss thing for pitchers, especially when it comes to guys like Jake DeGrom and stuff like that, but his 3.87 ERA, it's kind of, not bad, not great. It's solid. No. Ryan Borucki, do you still have him below Sean Reed-Foley in the pitching power rankings for the Jays?
At this point, no. Based on major league sample size, they're completely different pitchers. We've talked about that before. Obviously, left and right-handed. Sean Reed-Foley is a strikeout pitcher, whereas Borucki is a Mark Burley-esque type, where he limits contact and uses his defense more. They're really the perfect complement to each other. Them kind of back-to-back in a rotation is a pretty good mix.
Yeah.
I have Borucki, I know they're right next to each other in the prospect rankings. They're pretty much interchangeable at this point to me.
Gotcha. Patrick, Sean Reed-Foley, Ryan Borucki, who's higher on the Blue Jay power ranking list right now?
It has to be Borucki. Borucki was way better while he was called up, and I think we all agreed not too long ago that Borucki will probably be our number 3 guy next year after Sanchez and Stroman. You can put them in whatever order you want. Borucki has done enough to earn a full-time starter position with the Jays next year, so good for him.
Last month, Justin was like me with Kevin Pillar, always had Sean Reed-Foley's back no matter what. Like, no matter what, no, Sean Reed-Foley's better. SRF is the guy. Now you're kind of flip-flopping. Now you're like, okay, Ryan Borucki showed us some stuff. I like how you can change your mind there. You're not a stubborn guy.
They were showing a little stat that Ryan Borucki actually had 11 starts this season where he went at least 6 innings and gave up less than 2 runs. Or 2 runs or less, sorry. And Jay Happ had 7 of those when he was with the Jays.
Wow.
So, and they pitched similar amounts of time in the Jays rotation this season. So Borucki, in that sense, did a better job of Jay Happ going deep in games without giving up a ton of runs. So I thought that was a pretty interesting stat.
We're talking about pitching a lot this game because the bats were dog shit. Danny Jansen had 3 Ks that game. Urena had the golden sombrero. Let's talk about Danny Jansen, though. He's really fallen from grace. Is his bad stretch of baseball the last couple weeks worrying you about next year at all, or no?
No, not for me. He's learning the pitching stuff.
Patrick, are you a little worried about Danny Jansen at all, or?
Not at all. He's got Daddy Martin with him, and Daddy Martin proved that he can do no wrong as far as managing. So,
I mean, he didn't win.
With that said, let's talk about the season finale.
Yeah, that was an epic season finale. I liked how John Gibbons gave Russell Martin the reins to manage the game. I mean, it was his last game as Blue Jays manager, and he's like, screw it. I don't even want to manage it. I don't even want to work. I'm just going to drink straight rye in the clubhouse and do Gibby things.
Yeah.
I was kind of hoping for one more Gibby GIF for the Gibby GIF Twitter page.
Yeah.
But
we didn't get it.
Didn't get it. Whatever. He had enough in that last week. There are so many Gibby GIFs from this past week. How do you think Russell Martin did managing this game?
Pretty good.
Oh, he had Kevin Pillar leading off, so obviously I don't think
it was a weird
too much
lineup.
of him.
275 on base percentage in the leadoff
Yeah, it
spot.
was
I couldn't
a
believe it.
weird lineup. But hey, Kevin Pillar went 3 for 3 that game, so obviously a pretty good job by Russell Martin. I mean, you want your leadoff guy to go 3 for 3.
Cool note. And I'll give Kevin Pillar a little bit of props. He hit his 40th double in that game too. I think it was like something like the 16th or 17th Blue Jay in history to do that.
Oh wow!
And he finished top 20 in the bigs in doubles, but he's probably bottom 20 in on base percentage. So
yeah. Gaviglio, 5 2/3, 6 hits though, 5 earned runs, 3 walks.
What else did we expect?
Exactly. Gaviglio's such a tweener kind of player. We don't know if he's gonna be with the team next year. We don't know if we can just ship him out or cut him or whatever. It's kind of one of those things where it doesn't really matter what we do with him. You can be like, okay, I can see why we did that. You know.
I think we'll expose him to the Real 5 draft.
I think so too.
Guys.
Joe Biagini. I think this might be the last time we talk about Joe Biagini on the podcast.
Please God. Hopefully the next time we talk about him, it's because he's gone.
Yeah, 6 ERA,
Happy trails.
3 earned runs and 3 hits over those 2/3 inning pitched. I don't even know why we threw him into this game, honestly. Because
Russell Martin was just auditioning him to get out of town.
Yeah, but like Jays fans already had enough with this guy, and it's like, okay, we ended it on that. Like, what a Josh Towers move by Joe Biagini to end his Blue Jay tenure on that. Patrick, what did you think about the team just kind of going out with a whimper? Again, they have known for a long time they're not going to make the playoffs, but usually the last game of the year, you put in a little bit more effort. It just didn't seem like they were there mentally, hey?
Yeah, I mean, it's at the point where everybody's just kind of happy the season's over, including the fans. Joe Biagini did us a favor and did what he normally does when he pitches, which is suck. And he made sure that we weren't going to win this one. So it's kind of reflective of the season as a whole, where Biagini ends his season and probably his MLB career with a 6.00 ERA on the nose. And hopefully when he's flipping burgers next year, I can ask him, yes, I would like fries with that.
Joe Biagini has not risen. He will not come again. He will not judge the living and the dead. What do you guys think of the season? I mean, obviously disappointment, but I mean, the season's over now. Looking back on it, what do you think? What were some bright spots? What were some low points for you guys? How are you guys going to remember this season for the Jays? 2018, a couple sentences to wrap up this year.
Okay. Well, it started with false hope that for some of us, cough cough, Patrick carried over way too long in the season.
Yeah.
I remember our early episodes where Patrick kept coming up with cool scenarios about how the Jays were still in it.
Yeah, and they were not.
That faded out pretty quick.
Yeah, it did.
Cautious optimism with regards to some of these rookies, like Lourdes Gurriel, Ryan Baraki, Sean Reid-Foley in spurts. Thomas Pannone in spurts showed some potential. Danny Jansen, from a game calling aspect, and I mean with his bat too, at times has shown what he can do. Rowdy Tellez was pretty cool to watch in the last couple of weeks. September was a fun month actually, and we might not have won a ton of games, but just seeing the kids, like seeing John Birdie get a call up after 8 years in the minors is pretty cool. So there was some cool stories in terms of like debuts this year. Jonathan Davis moving up from AA all the way to the majors this year. So there was a lot of I think progress in terms of young players, and that's probably what this season should be known for more as progress moving forward, other than us just kind of floundering.
Patrick, couple sentences to wrap up the year. What did you think of it?
Well, I thought that this season went a lot worse than what I expected. I actually thought that the Jays were going to win 85 games this year, but man, I just could not believe how poorly the pitching staff pitched all year long. The bats did more or less what was expected. I mean, sure, there were some cold moments for guys we rely very heavily on, like Smoke, and we can rely very much so on Solarte while Donaldson was hurt. And those guys, they would go invisible in the middle of nowhere. But I mean, if this team was in need of an enema, the pitching staff is where we have to stick the nozzle and just flush out all those really bad pitchers who just don't deserve a spot on an MLB roster.
I'll always remember this season as the changing of the old guard season, because we started with no Jose Bautista, which was just weird. Mm-hmm. And by week 1, I think we all knew that Josh Donaldson wasn't going to be a Blue Jay as well. So they got rid of 2 of the biggest faces in the franchise, if not the biggest faces in the franchise this season. And then you go out and get rid of Roberto Osuna, which, again, we still don't really know if that was a good move or a bad move. Hands kind of tied with that. So Roberto Osuna gone. Jay Happ gone. It was one of those years where we just got rid of everyone, and we did get some good pieces back, but it's kind of that changing of the guard season where, okay, we gave it a shot. We kept Josh for a while. We tried to add some pieces this year with Granderson and try and be competitive, but it didn't work out. So this is the changing of the guard season where next year, okay, let's give the young guys a shot and let's start building something special. But I'll always remember this year as just like, man, this was kind of the end of an era. Kind of the end of those playoff Blue Jay teams where we had Edwin and Bautista and Josh and all these guys, and now they're all gone. So like this was kind of the last hurrah for that era of Blue Jay baseball, and it was sad that it went out that way because, we sucked this year. It sucked.
We're gonna get Troy Tulowitzki as our starting shortstop next season.
I would love that. I think
I said it last week. I'm giving him the call.
He sat out all year. Maybe he's healthy. Maybe he lasts long. Like who knows? We still got Diaz as the new Ryan Goins of the squad. Like it would be great. Let's get to the roundtable topic of the day. We have 9 players. We can pick 3 to keep on the team for next year. We're going to pick 3 to trade and 3 to cut loose, whether it be a buyout or an option or a DFA, whatever. Here are the players. Devin Travis, Justin Smoke, Kevin Pillar, Gritch Daddy, Dalton Pompey, Jonathan Davis, Russell Martin, Luke Maile, and Danny Jansen. So we can keep 3 of them, trade 3 of them, cut or buyout or whatever 3 of them. Patrick, I'll let you go first here. Who are you going to keep out of those 3?
I thought a lot about this one, and my picks are way off board, but bear with me here. The number 1 player out of all of these guys we should keep, believe it or not, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but it's going to be Russell Martin. And the reason why is because Russell Martin is going to be, for lack of a better term, a player/manager next year. He is going to be a leader in that clubhouse, and he's going to show Danny Jansen the ropes and give him everything he needs to succeed as an all-star catcher now and in the future. And I trust Russell to be able to do everything that needs to be done in his final season to get the team ready and kind of unite them and get them prepared for, hopefully, success in the future. Number 2 guy I want to protect is also a catcher, Danny Jansen. He is going to be the future catcher for this team for a very long time. I think he's got the skills, and I think he has the smarts to be able to do everything that Russell Martin does, except better because he's younger. The third guy I want to keep is Randall Grichuk, because I think we have yet to see his ceiling. He came very close to hitting 30 home runs this year, and I do believe that the April-May batting under 100 was just a bad time for him. He wasn't positioning himself right at the plate. He was trying way too hard to be a part of the slugfest we had going on early on. And I think Randall Grichuk is going to be a cornerstone outfielder for us for a long time as well, just because he's got the power, he's got the glove, he's got everything we need him to do to more or less replace someone like Jose Bautista.
All right, Justin, who are you keeping out of those 9 guys?
Well, Danny Jansen, number 1, for reasons that Patrick said. Catcher of the future for us. Second, I'm going to keep Randall Grichuk as well. Again, same info as Patrick. And third, I'm keeping Justin Smoke at first base.
Mine are the exact same.
Yeah.
I can't see any other 3 guys that we want to keep out of these 9.
Yeah.
I mean, Danny Jansen, we obviously got to keep. We're not going to get rid of Danny Jansen after all the time we invested in him. Out of all those guys, as much as I love Kevin Pillar, I would way rather have Randall Grichuk over Kevin Pillar, especially because, again, I support Kevin Pillar no matter what he does, but he has declined. He has definitely declined. I think Randall Grichuk is younger and has a lot more upside than Kevin Pillar. And you got to keep Justin Smoke. I mean, Justin Smoke's one of our best players, so we can't get rid of him either. So I think it's got to be those 3 guys. I agree with Patrick, how Russell Martin, he should be there as a player-manager kind of guy, but the fact that he's going to be making $20 million next year, and I know that he's been with the Jays for 4 years. I know that, fans love him, the players love him, but we could do a lot with that $20 million.
Yeah.
We can get some great bullpen guys. We could go after a veteran starter. We can do a lot of things with that $20 million instead of having a backup catcher who might manage the last game of the season, Yeah. Okay, out of those guys, I am trading Russell Martin. I'm going to try and get something for his contract.
I'm going to have to eat some of it.
Yeah, maybe. I'm going to try and trade Kevin Pillar because I think a team could still use him. We could still get something back for him. And I think we try and trade Dalton Pompey because I think he's still young enough where teams would take a chance and think that he's a prospect, and we maybe get something in return for him. Justin, who are you trading?
I'm trading Devin Travis. I think someone still has value in him. I'm also trading Kevin Pillar, and I'm trading Luke Maile.
Do you think we can get anything for Luke Maile?
He's a backup catcher.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, backup catchers are kind of in demand,
He's
too.
a good game caller.
Yeah.
And he can play decent defense.
Yeah.
So I think there's a market for that. It won't be much, but there's a market there.
Okay, Patrick, who are you trading?
The number 1 guy I'm going to trade is Justin Smoke, and the reason why is because he was the Toronto Blue Jays' most valuable player this season, which means that he has the most value out of anybody. And I think that we're in a situation now where we need to reload, get some young players, and I think Smoke could be used for his value. So we will pick up his option, but he will get dealt. Number 2, I would trade... I think I would trade Devin Travis as well because he has value. And I don't think he's quite done. I don't think we've seen the best of Devin Travis. There's just, I don't know if it's because he was just perpetually injured or whatever it is. I think he just needs a fresh start somewhere else. Again, it's certainly not back in Detroit, but somewhere like that where he can go to a park that doesn't have like turf and maybe it's not so bad on his very frail bones. The third guy I would trade is Kevin Pillar because Pillar has value. He's obviously, a competent center fielder with defensive ability. He's proven that he can hit for power in a hitter's park. His on-base percentage is really bad, but we have to at least try to attribute some of that to the fact that he has a terrible hitting coach. So I say give Kevin Pillar a fresh start somewhere like, say, Kansas City. I think he would thrive in center field with Kansas City. He might not hit much better in Kauffman, but it'd be cool to kind of see him get a fresh start in a city where they just recently lost a great center fielder in Lorenzo Cain, and maybe Pillar fills that void. I don't know.
It's funny how you blame the hitting coaches for Pillar hitting in Toronto, and then you're like, you know what? Maybe it's a bigger ballpark. He might struggle there. Which is it? Is it Pillar's hitting, or is it the hitting coaches?
It's both. When you're that bad, it's both.
Oh, what a coincidence, hey? You got to stop blaming the coaches for everything. Sometimes the players have to take this responsibility. It's not all the coaches' faults. I know you have a hate on for our coaches, but I don't think they're that bad. Everyone else we cut loose. We can just kind of figure that out, hey?
Yeah. Just a disclaimer, too. This isn't saying that this is this is just a hypothetical.
Is what we would do. If we're Ross Adkins.
It's like one of those kill, marry things where you have to pick somebody. This is just what the kind of...
Classic. I got a question for you guys.
Yeah.
Before we wrap this up, what did you think of my idea with Justin Smoak? Do you think it's like 4-dimensional chess, or it's just straight up a mistake?
It seems like a logical baseball move to me. You pick up that option because it's $8 million. He can be worth more than that on the free agency market, and is worth more than that. He's probably worth twice that on the free agency market right now on a 2-year deal. So you pick up that option, and you can get a ton of stuff for an $8 million Justin Smoak down the road at the trade deadline if you want to. If he doesn't think we're going to re-sign him again, because we might have a first base prospect like a Rowdy Tellez or a Chad Spanberger who's coming on his way up.
I just don't think we trade Justin Smoak yet. I think that we got to keep some guys from the old guard. We can't just blow the whole thing up, and just start from scratch.
Yeah, Smokey's going to be like one of those trade deadline this coming season.
I think if Rowdy keeps playing the way he is, and it looks like he might, because he's a pretty good ball player. Again, it kind of started as a joke, but he's a pretty good ball player.
Yeah, his numbers are kind of unsustainable.
Yeah.
But even if he regresses to the norm, he should be serviceable.
Yeah, I just don't think. I don't think it's. I like Justin Smoak. I really want to keep him on the team. Plus, he's pretty good defensively. And having a bad defensive first baseman that can't dig and can't get those bad balls, I mean, it's a huge game changer. You wouldn't think about it, but having a good defensive first baseman is a really good thing to have.
So many of the plays, right?
Let's get to the playoffs, shall we? Something that the Blue Jays aren't in again. The 2 tiebreakers today. What did you think of 2 tiebreakers? Did you guys get to watch them, or?
I watched a little bit on my lunch break of the Milwaukee Chicago game, and I can't get enough Christian Yelich. I could watch Christian Yelich swing all day. His swing is so flat, so much of his swing path is in the strike zone. It's no wonder why he bats the way he does. I was talking to Patrick today on Skype and said I saw somewhere about there's a quote from Chipper Jones back when Yelich was a prospect coming up, and he said, Chipper was quoted as saying that kid's going to win a bunch of MVPs one day. So it's pretty cool. That was like 7 years ago that Chipper said that, and Yelich should be the NL MVP.
Yeah,
so
he definitely should.
Kind of cool from a Hall of Famer.
Patrick, did you get to watch the tiebreakers today?
I got to watch just the ass end of Los Angeles and Colorado. It was kind of scary going into the 9th. They took out Kenta Maeda and put in Kenley Jansen, even though the winner of this team or of this one, or the loser, whatever, was going to end up having to play again tomorrow. And Kenley gave up back-to-back bombs to Nolan Arenado and Trevor Story. And I started to wonder whether or not it was a mistake putting Kenley in the game. But he managed to shut the door. LA gets the number 3 seed. It was kind of cool, the fact that we had 2 game number 163s today. And what's weird is that whatever they do in this extra game, it counts towards their regular season stats.
Does it?
It does. Yep.
Cool.
Okay, let's talk about the wild card games here. We got Oakland and New York playing at Yankee Stadium. In the National League, we got Colorado and Chicago. Out of those 2 wild card games, which one do you think is going to be the most crazy? Because when you think of wild card games, you think of craziness. Which one has that crazy factor between those 2 games?
Yankee Stadium and these power bats like Chris Davis, Stanton, Judge, Gary Sanchez hitting in that short porch. That I think there's gonna. I wonder what the over under on home runs is gonna be in that wild card game. If
Seven?
it's not like 5, 6, 7
Yeah.
home runs hitting that game, I'll be surprised. If it's not like a 10-8 final, it's probably gonna be like a crazy pitchers duel.
Yeah. So, Patrick, do you think the Yankee game's going to be the crazy one, or do you think Colorado-Chicago is going to be the crazy one?
I think Colorado and Chicago is going to be a crazy one, just because Colorado just got their asses beat, and they're gonna go to Chicago, and they're gonna be super pissed off. They're gonna want to win that game, and I actually think Oakland's gonna spank New York. Just with reference to what Justin said, there's so many like heavy bats, and I have a very weird feeling about this Oakland team. Like it's gonna moneyball its way right to the World Series, and nothing would make me happier than to watch the New York Yankees lose at Yankee Stadium.
I think that Oakland's going to make some noise in the playoffs, not just in that wild card game. I think they're going to give Boston a run for their money. I don't think they're going to beat Boston because Boston is untouchable this year, but I think that Oakland is one of the most underrated teams in baseball this year. So you guys are picking New York over Oakland.
Yeah.
I'm going Oakland over New York. When it comes to Colorado-Chicago, I'm taking the Cubs. Wrigley Field, Cubs don't lose a lot at Wrigley Field during the playoffs. I mean, except for the Bartman game. I think we all know that. But when the Cubs kind of turned things around and they started playing playoff games again, they play really good at Wrigley Field during the playoffs. Who do you think is going to win that game?
I'm going to say Chicago.
Okay.
John Lester's going to pitch. He's going to pitch well.
And you are saying Colorado, Patrick?
I'm going to say the final score is going to be 5-4, but it's going to go to 14 innings, and it's going to be Chicago who ekes it out.
All right, so let's talk about Boston for a bit. I kind of touched on it that Boston's untouchable, but
Yeah.
what does Boston have to do to avoid an upset? Because that's the thing with these teams that have no challenge during the
Right.
regular season. They don't know what competition is, you know? They don't know what to do in those close games. What can Boston do to make sure that doesn't happen to them?
Score a ton of runs and hope that their starting pitching doesn't implode. We have David Price, who had a great regular season, but we all know his playoff history. Chris Sale might not be 100% healthy. It's hard to say. He's been on the DL a couple of times and gotten some limited work towards the end of the year. So we'll kind of see what's up with them. Like I kind of worry a little bit about their starting pitching. Their offense has enough power to carry them, like Martinez, Betts, Mitch Moreland had a good season, to carry them a long way. But the playoffs always come down to pitching.
Yeah. Patrick, what do you think Boston has to do to not get beat by Oakland?
Lean really, really, really hard on their bullpen, especially their closer. I don't think you want to, Rochambeau with Oakland. I just think it's too risky, and they need to get some of those, flame-throwing relievers in there to kind of shut down the Athletics. I don't know if there's anybody except maybe Chris Sale who's going to be able to effectively shut down the Oakland hitters. And I say lean hard on the relievers, and it's Craig Kimbrell, right?
Yeah.
Their closer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be working overtime during this
Might see
series,
some 6-out
regardless
saves.
of how many games it goes.
So because of Boston's star power and because of the craziness of these two tiebreaker games and because of everyone kind of talking about Oakland as the team that might surprise everyone, seems like no one's really talking about this Houston-Cleveland series,
Yeah.
which is going to be an awesome series
awesome
because
playoff
Houston
series.
is such a fun team to watch. Cleveland can hit bombs. Josh Donaldson and Edwin, I mean, from a Blue Jay perspective, I'm kind of rooting for Cleveland there. I kind of hope that Josh finds some playoff magic. What do you think about that series? Do you think it's going to be one of those series that no one expects to be good but is one of those great series?
I think we're going to see some pitching duels in that series. I think that's what's going to come down to. I mean, Cleveland had 4 pitchers in their starting rotation crack 200 strikeouts this year, first team in history to do that. And the Astros aren't far behind with their starting rotation too. So I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing Verlander pitch in the playoffs. He always puts on a great performance. But I also am looking forward to seeing what Jose Ramirez and Francisco Lindor can do against a great pitching staff. Yeah, I honestly think that's gonna be a little bit more entertaining of a series, a closer series than the whoever Boston plays.
Yeah.
We might see less bombs from Cleveland but I mean, Cleveland and Houston can both hit too. It's, these American League teams are all big power hitting teams. That's gonna be fun to watch.
Patrick, do you think the pitching duel is going to happen for Houston Cleveland? And if it does, which starting rotation is going to be better, Houston's or Cleveland's?
Cleveland's pitching staff, I think, is the best in baseball, and there's a lot of evidence to say that I'm correct. But I don't think it's going to matter in the long term with this series, because I think it's all going to come down to how well the Cleveland hitters do. And I think it's going to come down to, the Edwin Encarnaciones and the Jose Ramirez's, and whether or not they can get the extra base hits and drive in the runs to try to squeeze out the victories. And I don't think they're going to do it.
When it comes to the Milwaukee Brewers, they're, of course, going to be playing Colorado or Chicago. Do you see any of those wildcard teams, like either Colorado or the Cubs, challenging the Milwaukee Brewers at all, Patrick? Or do you think that the Brewers have this first-round series in the bag?
Yeah, the Brewers got to be one of the most exciting teams to watch, and Christian Yelich is a god. I think he's just invincible, and I think he alone is just going to carry them all the way to the World Series.
But their rotation is pretty bad. Like, they don't really have a lot of great pitching. They have good pitching, but they don't have great pitching. And the one thing I notice in the playoffs is that when good pitching crumbles, it really crumbles. Like, sometimes great pitching can kind of rebound and be like, okay, they can kind of rely on their greatness. When it comes to good pitching, if you're bad, there's no coming back. So do you think that Milwaukee's pitching is going to hold up here, Justin, or no?
Well, if they can get a lead to their bullpen, they'll be fine. They have one of the best bullpens in the National League with Josh Hader. That guy just, I think he pitched 2 innings today. He just mowed down the Cubs batters. It was crazy to watch. If they can get a lead to their bullpen, I think the games will be over. But yeah, like, I agree with you. Their starting rotation can be suspect at times, but I think that they have enough firepower in that offense that they should be able to get through the first round at least.
And just like the Houston and Cleveland series, Atlanta and LA, no one's really talking about it.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those series where it's like, whatever. I'm kind of pumped to see Atlanta back in the playoffs.
Atlanta's interesting, yeah.
Atlanta's a very interesting young team. LA is pretty much the opposite. Not saying that they're interesting, but I mean, LA is always filled with veterans, filled with these high-paid free agents. Nailed it on the fourth try there. These high-paid free agents, they always spend their money. Atlanta, and they spend some money, but usually they stick to their farm system. Who do you have in that series?
Man, I've got Atlanta moving through. I'm interested to watch that series. I think Blue Jay fans should probably watch it. That could be us in a couple of years with these young kids.
Yeah.
Hopefully we can catch lightning in a bottle too, like the Braves did this season, and have everyone kind of get ready at the same time. We're kind of tracking in that direction. For us, it's going to come down to pitching again. A brief Jays segue, but I think Atlanta just has the sheer talent to get through and upset the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers, even though they're the number 3 seed to Atlanta's number 2, I think they're still going to be the favorites just because of playoff experience in that series. But I do have Atlanta moving through.
Patrick, do you have Atlanta coming through, or do you think their inexperience is going to hurt them?
Their inexperience is going to catch up with them. This Dodgers team is built to win. And while they might not go all the way this year, I think they're just going to sweep aside the Braves like they're nothing. And the Braves can kind of go back to the drawing board and take that useful experience and just become even more powerful next year. But this isn't their year.
Let's hear the predictions then for the playoffs. And I'm looking at the notes for the show here. Mine are the exact same as Justin's, and I'm pretty sure they're for the same reasons because me and Justin really think alike. So I'm going to let Justin basically do the talking for me. But yeah, me and Justin picked the exact same outcome. I might just disagree for the sake of good podcasting, though.
Patrick's doing enough disagreeing for the bullpen.
Well, yeah, that's very true. But because, again, Justin has Boston versus Cleveland in the second round in the ALCS. I still think Houston might be able to beat Cleveland.
Yeah, that's good. That's a toss-up. I had a hard time deciding.
Yeah.
I went with the Jays, Edwin and Josh making it through.
So you know what? I might think that just for disagreeing, I'll take Houston, but it doesn't really matter because Boston's going to beat whoever's in there anyway. Patrick, who do you have in the ALCS?
The ALCS is going to be between the Oakland Athletics and the Houston Astros, and it's going to be the most exciting ALCS that we've seen in a very long time.
Okay.
And the reason why is because Oakland, they're kind of like the little brother. They're kind of like David, and Houston are a lot like Goliath.
These
And I
religious
just
references,
there's
man.
something
I can't
about
keep up.
what's it? Yeah, I know we're just going full on Bible, but no, I think Houston's going to beat Cleveland in 5 games, and I think Oakland is going to beat Boston in 4. I think Boston's actually going to choke this year. And you know what? If I'm wrong, then it was obvious. But if I'm right, then I look like a genius.
I don't know, Patrick.
Yeah, I don't think Boston's going to falter, I think.
We'll
it's
see.
Tough to
Oh,
see.
man, they're good at baseball
I think
team.
Boston's going to sweep whoever wins the wild card game.
Yeah, I agree. The NLCS, Justin, who do you have?
I've got Milwaukee playing Atlanta, and I'm going to take Milwaukee to win there.
Okay.
I'm rooting for Christian Yelich, and I mean we got Curtis Granderson playing for the Brewers.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go. I'll make a little bit of a Jays bender here, trying to get him going.
Patrick, I see you have Milwaukee, but you don't have Atlanta?
Nope. I've got Milwaukee versus Los Angeles. Like I said, this isn't Atlanta's year. I think the Dodgers are going to sweep them aside like they're nothing, and they're going to be in very tough against Milwaukee. I think you guys are underrating the crap out of the Milwaukee starting rotation, especially Julius Chassin,
He pitched
who had a
today.
phenomenal year.
Yeah, Gustavo's kid.
Well, maybe
Happy
not,
battle.
but I think Milwaukee versus Los Angeles is going to be one of those classic NLCS. It's not going to go the whole way, but Milwaukee is going to eke out a 6-game win over the very tired Dodgers.
I'm going Brewers, Braves. I think the Braves have what it takes to beat LA, and I just think that their young bats are going to explode,
It's
and
gonna be
the Braves might go on another tear in that division, kind of like the '90s when the
Yeah.
Braves could not lose that division, even if they tried. I think the
It's
Atlanta
kinda looking
Braves,
like that.
they're going to have another version of that because they are good at baseball.
Yeah.
Okay, who do you have going to the World Series here? I have Boston, Milwaukee.
Yeah, same with me.
I know that's a boring pick because it's like, okay, they're the 2 best teams in each
The
league.
2 number 1 seeds, yeah.
But Boston's good, Milwaukee's good, and I just don't see any of those other teams matching their talent. And when it comes to playoff baseball, I mean, in hockey, you can kind of get gritty with it, and your team doesn't have to be as good.
Speaking of gritty.
Yeah, speaking of gritty, yeah, I can't say that anymore without thinking of gritty. But in hockey, you can kind of get over for a lack of talent with heart. In baseball, you can't hide the talent. You know, so I just think Boston and Milwaukee are just so talented, and it's going to be them in the World Series. Patrick?
It's going to be the battle of the smaller markets with Milwaukee versus Oakland, and I think that it's going to be interesting, but Milwaukee is going to take home the World Series this year.
Man, you know that Major League Baseball would just be dreading if those 2 teams make it. Not
Yeah,
having
that's what I was
Boston
gonna
or
say.
New York or the Dodgers or the Astros in the World Series would be bad from a marketing standpoint, but great for a baseball purist standpoint.
I
Yeah.
agree. So when it comes to the World Series, then, Patrick has Milwaukee versus Oakland. Who do you have taking that?
It's the Brew Crew all the way.
Okay.
I'm a fan of chaos.
You heard it here first. The
Yeah.
Brewers. Justin?
Unfortunately, Boston. I don't want them to win, but I don't see how they don't.
I just don't see how Boston loses the World
Yeah.
Series. I mean, they are loaded. They are absolutely loaded this year, barring some kind of like epic meltdown game where like they just totally ruin their morale.
Yeah.
Like sometimes those games that just turn into a huge cancer in the locker room. Someone
Right.
messes up royally. That's the only way I see
ship is
Boston.
sinking.
Yeah, that's the only way I see Boston losing because they are just so
yeah,
good.
no, I think the World Series probably goes 6 or 7 games. Probably 6. I don't
Mhm.
think Milwaukee has the power to take Boston the distance.
All right, last question here. At this time next year, are the Jays going to be in our playoff prediction show? Will the Jays make the playoffs next year?
No.
No.
Fuck you guys. I'm saying yes. I'm the only optimist here. Whatever.
I don't know if it's optimism.
It's optimism because it's not taking into consideration the facts, because if you take the facts into consideration, we shouldn't make the playoffs.
So
it's optimism.
if we make the playoffs this year, it'll be because Vladdy hits like 75 home runs.
At least.
At least.
He'll probably need like 275 for them to make the playoffs next year. But I think it could happen.
Rowdy Tellez needs to bat 375 over a whole season
That could
for us to
happen,
make
man.
the
He's
playoffs.
great. That's it it. That's all for episode 18. Can't wait for the playoffs. Again, go Cleveland, because Edwin and Josh, I really, really hope that they can upset Boston. I know it's not going to happen, but fingers crossed. It's going to be a fun playoff. We're going to be with you the entire time as well. We will see you next week. On behalf of Patrick and Justin, happy playoffs, everyone.